Hi everybody and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about scatter plots and correlation coefficients. So your goal after watching this video will be able to define the relationship and the strength of the relationship between two different variables. So we're going to take a look here first at scatter plot and what it means. So it is a graph of the values of two variables So in its most basic form, probably we've seen this in different kind of ideas before, but we could maybe say something like money spent and team wins, for example. So if you're looking at a team like the Patriots and they spend a lot of money every year, maybe they spend like $200 million, and based off of that, maybe they're going to win, they'll have their perfect season, they'll win 16 games. So here are the Patriots right here. And we can see that, and it'll be given in a table. So wins and dollars. So 16 wins and then $200 million. And then maybe you have a team like the Browns who, they're just trying to save some money. They don't win any games, and maybe they only spend like $80 million on their roster that year. So somewhere down here, they have 0 wins, and here's Cleveland. And then you might have some other kind of middle-of-the-road teams, maybe something like the Colts. They win 9 games, and their budget is 150. Somewhere over here. And again, this is just some loose estimates here of what this might look like. And then, I don't know, maybe if we have 6 wins, a little bit cheaper, maybe it's 120 million for that budget. So these would all be values that would be given to us in a table. And basically, based off of these values that are given to us, we can have an idea of making a scatter plot. Now, the key for this is that when we're making all of these points on the scatter plot, it's not a perfect line. So we might even have some outliers. So maybe it's a team like the Giants. They spend a lot of money, but they only win 2 games. So they're somewhere up here, and boom, they're like a more expensive version of the Browns. Or maybe you have, just a lucky team one year, and, they win 12 games. I think the Jaguars did that one year, and they really didn't spend all that much money. So we get all the way over to like 12 wins, and, they just basically spend less than the Browns did. So what you can see here, kind of a pattern that's forming, is that we're going to have some scatter. It's not a perfect line. You might have teams over here, but you'll see an overall trend. And that's kind of the idea of a scatter plot, is that it's not going to be perfect, but if you were to put a line to it, you would generally see a trend that would go through these points, something along those lines. And that's the idea. So it's not going to be a perfect line, but it will tell us a little bit about the relationship of some, two variables and how they're related to each other. So some other things that we can graph, and we might have like a table of values given to us. Some other examples would be like your weight and your height. So depending on these things, you might see just an overall positive trend, right? If you weigh a little bit more, we're anticipating that you're probably going to be a little bit taller. You might have some tall, skinny people. You might have some average build people, and it just depends. But on the whole, we're kind of expecting to see this positive trend. So that's the idea of scatter plots, is we're not going to have perfect lines, but we're just practicing going through with some examples. So when you're given these today, you're going to be given a set of values, and it's going to be your job to go through and to just plot all of the points. So a little bit of practice of graphing, but the idea of this is that it's going to get you familiar with what we're about to do next. So there's a bunch of examples, and I'll post a few of them, but the idea is you want to be as exact as possible when you are plotting these points. So if we're on an XY axis, and you're given the point, let's say 2 comma 7, that means that you're going 2 to the right and you're going up by 7. So your first coordinate tells you left, right. Your second coordinate tells you up or down. So we want to be as exact as possible when we're doing these. And you'll have a bunch of coordinates to put on. So make sure, again,